Good evening, my Rabbi Sai. Good evening to all those who listen with Torah anytime. Yashakayach, once again, for all of you who participated in their annual fundraiser and helped them reach their goal. And thank you for helping us over here at Zera Shimshon reach our goal. Tonight's Zera Shimshon Shiur is sponsored by Morty Wienerli Ilan Nishmas, his parents, Reb Ben Sion ben Reb Zalman Mordechai Alav Shalom, and his mother Hinda Bas Moshe Arya Aleha Shalom, who is just Nivteres, and we're still in the Shloshim. Also Mordechai Eisenberger, in honor of the engagement of his son to Ayala Terabello, should be Zoicha, that the Zivik should be La'oila Yafe, Bunim V'nei Bunim Oiskim B'Torah B'Mitzvahs. Zechus for Yitzchak ben Macharoiza to find his Bashert and Birchas HaGefim for all. Parnosa Berevach, Ad Belidai, for Yosef ben Chana, Esther Roiza, Meir ben Miriam, Shlomo Yosef ben Rachel, Chaim Hillel ben Keren Sivya, and Elazar ben Matol. Ala Yidin, Ala Nargita Zachen. It's the right month to happen, Baruch Hashem. We'll open up with Megilas Esther, the first piece in the Zera Shimshon in Megilas Esther. So if you have the volume that we have, which is Tuf Kuf Yud Aleph, if you have that, if you have a different printing in your house, wherever, it's the same shtikala. The first piece of the Zera Shimshon in Megilas Esther. Aleph. Okay. Megillah Perek Kama Daf Yud Aleph Amid Aleph. Amar Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak. On the pasuk in Shiur Hamalois. Shiur Hamalois Perek Tehillim Kuf Chav Daled. LeDavid Lulei Hashem Shahaya Lanu. Allah will wait. Okay? Without the Eibishter, a special prayer, says David HaMelech. Lulei Hashem shehaya lanu yoymar no Yisrael. If not for Hashem, Lulei Hashem shehaya lanu bikum aleinu adam. When a man stood up against us, Azai Chayim Balunu. Lebedikahate Chayim Balunu. It would have been swallowed up alive. Becharais Apam Banu, with the Charain Af, we were. And the Eibishter saved us. Says, take a look at your Zera Shimshon. Adam V'loi Melech. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak is medayik that Amad Aleinu Adam, Bikum Aleinu Adam. An Adam came up against us. State in the Gemara, Adam V'loi Melech. As though David HaMelech means to say, we're in real trouble and we need extra special help from the Eibishter when it's an Adam that comes up against us. If it would be a Melech, nish gefährlich. Nish gefährlich. A Melech can do a lot more damage than a person. A Melech is a king. Asks the Zera Shimshon Kasha. Couple of questions. Machidish lana bedrasha zu. V'alei adarabba. Nazan on the mokam lahakshos. Ima emesh loikam ki im adam ve'enei melech. If it's really true that it's not a king that's out to get us, but rather a person that's out to get us, im kain hanes shel hatzola einoi kol kach godol. What's the groisenes? Harei v'lo shayach lemer lulei Hashem shahaya lanu. Stochnar, a mere mortal. It's only a man. So v'zepis that we have to give an extra praise with a double lashon, as it says, Lulei Hashem shahaya lanu yoymana Yisrael. Lulei Hashem, which means an extra chidush of saying Lulei Hashem, Lulei Hashem. We have to say it double because we understand that we were in deep trouble. Vosepis. Zok Zera Shimshon. V'kedei l'taretz kush yazu, mishum hachi Reb Nachman haya pasach Megilas Esther pasach zeh. To give you just a drop of background, when you learn Masechtas Megillah, before the Masechta talks about Megilas Esther inside and darshans the Megillah, it gives us a list, about 15 of psichos, introductions. Each Amayra had another introduction, which could be looked as a takeaway. This is the lesson that we're learning from the Megillah. So the one that the Zera Shimshon opens up Megilas Esther with is this one in the Gemara. The one that David HaMelech prophesied, Bikum Aleinu Adam, that we needed extra special help from the Eibishter under these circumstances because of this Adam. Pashtus, who's the Adam? Haman HaRasha. He's the Adam. He wasn't the Melech. He got Achashverosh to sign off on it. Okay? But Frek the Zera Shimshon, I think that if the Melech was out to get us, we'd be in more trouble. I mean, Achashverosh was out to get us, but he let Haman do the work. But if he would have been fire, like a Hitler, Yemach Shemai, the leader of the country, to do that, then who's going to stop him? So why is it, and what is the pshat in the extra special Lulei Hashem because it's an Adam? Now, therefore Reb Nachman is coming to explain Pasuk Megilas Esther Pasuk Zeh. He opened up the pshat Megilas Esther with this. V'hainu, shebenes Purim noida lanu bebirush HaKadosh Baruch Hu maktim lanu refuah l'maka. One of the things that we learn out is how the Eibishter takes care of us, bebirur. How so? K'moisha Amru, the Gemara, a page later in Megillah says, do you know how fortunate it was for Klal Yisrael that Haman gave Achashverosh an eitzah to get rid of Vashti and send out a letter to his everybody, all of his subjects, that each man should be Shiur bebeisai. What was that? Yitzi Zokta was stupid. You're right. Chazal say too, do you know why he was stupid? He lived in Persia, right? Who do you think's in charge over there?
The women.
Yeah, right. Right? Back then, certainly. This was before women could vote. Remember?
You're trying to get brownie points?
This is before. So you're talking about back in the Middle Ages, earlier. Way back when. Women didn't have rights. Right? So you're telling me, so they saw Achashverosh as being a shlita. They saw him as being foolish. You're telling everybody to be sharp. Like, what's wrong with you? State in the Gemara, Ilmale Igaris Scheiners, nothing would have been left over from Klal Yisrael. Why? Push it. When they got the second letter, the second national declaration to wipe out the Jews on the 13th of Adar, they were weary. Shteiten Chazal. Why? This is the second message we got from him. Who knows what he's going to say? So they sat on the side. The Mefarshim explain, would this have been the first and only letter that Achashverosh had sent out to go Lahashmir Haras Kol Yehudim on Yud Gimel Adar? You know what the anti-Semites would have said? Why wait? And you get all their money? Hayom. Zrizin Magdimin. Thank you. What's that?
The Gaon for a reason.
The Gaon is a reason that Haman had. That doesn't mean to say that the Goyim or anti-Semites looking for excuses to wipe out Jews have to make that cheshbon. That was just the Gaon that it's a good mazel. So they would have taken action immediately. Chalila. And start wiping out the Jews. Lama lechakot. What do you have to wait for? Was darf man warten? The teretz is Shteiten Chazal, but because Achashverosh's first letter made absolutely no sense, which grade, who was the fellow who told him to do that? Haman himself. So look, connect the dots. The Eibishter made it in a way that he, who's trying to wipe us out, was the person responsible to have delegitimized his own letter.
Fool me once, fool me twice, right?
Any nusach you want to use, lose it. Any nusach you want to lose. It was yeah, okay. But according to a lot of Mefarshim. But at the end of the day, the same thing is true, which is that because of the first Avishtate in the Gemara, like it says in the Gemara, because of that first letter, there was questionable what this king is all about. They doubted, right, his saneness. Shtikol melech yesh aimer melech shaita. That first letter was one of the reasons that they said so. So subsequently, the second letter was a wait and see. We'll said the Gaon, we'll see what happens on Yud Gimel. Till that time, could you imagine when they had the third letter already? They'd lamed al nafsham. By this time, it's takatoit mishuga, right? 3 letters, and the second one is Soiser, the first one. So which of course gave Klal Yisrael the opportunity to fight for themselves and to protect themselves and be misgaber over their Sainim. Ubechol shar hanisim, with other nisim, afilu neshel yitzias mitzrayim, like noidem menu zebebirur. The way we were able to see al piderech hateva that the Eibush took care of us, piece after piece after piece, every single part of the story was such a birur that even in Yetzias Mitzrayim, the concept of maktim refuah lemaka. What's the concept of maktim refuah lemaka? That the Eibishter, before he gives the makkah, he gives the refuah. Right? Now, normally, derech agav, siva etzirige kimen. Normally, you learn makdim refuah lamaka means that if the Eibishter is going to bring a makkah, he's going to bring the refuah first. This way, the makkah doesn't hurt so much. Correct? Makdim refuah lamaka. But we said this once here, way back. The Eibishter's makdim refuah lamaka works like this. The Rebbeinu Shalom wants to bring the refuah. But he can't bring a refuah if we're not zoicha to it. So he has to give us a makkah so that he can bring the refuah. What was the refuah for Klal Yisrael from Purim? Bayesheni. That was the refuah. They're in Golus. The Goyim are celebrating a Su'udas Achashverosh 180 days. He's taking out the kelim of the Beis HaMikdash because they don't need it anymore. According to his cheshbon, 70 years is up. Remember, we spoke about the fact that one of the previous kings, Kairosh, had started allowing Klal Yisrael to build the Beis HaMikdash. They started building, and you know what happened? Mitas Ugalos, they stopped. The construction was held up. There was no construction anymore. That gave Haman and Achashverosh the confidence to say the Eibishter gave them a chance. There was Taka Nevuah. Oh, but look what they did. They bowed down to Nebuchadnezzar's Avodah Zarah. They blew it. So Mamela, they're not going back. 70 years of Bavel is up. The Beis HaMikdash had started to be built, but the Beis HaMikdash Mitas Ugalos, they stopped building it, so it's not happening.
You also had the wrong calculations.
Avadet Zor steht in the Gemara. We know the Eibishter did it the right way, but the whole story is Sviv begins. The whole story is Sviv. That says that. Come sit next to me, Tzaddik. Come sit next to me. The whole story is Sviv, is around building of the Beis HaMikdash, that the Beis HaMikdash is being rebuilt. That's what the whole story is all about, whether it is or whether it isn't. And when Achashverosh asked Esther, what can I do for you? Ad Chatzi HaMalchus, steht in Chazal, What's Chatzi HaMalchus? Reference to the Beis HaMikdash. That part I don't want to give you. Eventually, her son Daryavesh builds the Beis HaMikdash, and Klal Yisrael, through the schus of Kenois Kol HaYehudim getting together, were zoichet to have us Bayis Sheni. So the whole story is all about Bayis Sheni. In order to get to Bayis Sheni, like we learned last week in Zera Shimshon, you need Mesiris Nefesh. Doilem Gedenkt. Remember from last week, even if you get a bracha, and someone says, I'm going to say this over for you, Aaron, even if you get a bracha, the Zera Shimshon brought a medrash, and a person says, I can stay at home, maybe she's going to give me a bracha. If you don't do a shtadlis, you're not going to get the bracha. Mordechai, like we said last week, knew that the Klal Yisrael would be saved. He had a few simanim, but he knew we needed to do the hishtadlis to deserve it. The hishtadlis meant we had to fast, we had to do tshuva. Once we did that, we were zeicha to the prize. So makdim refuah lemaka doesn't mean that the Eibishter wants to give you a makkah, but he gives you a refuah first. Nein, makdim refuah means I want to give you the refuah. I want to give you Bayis Sheni. But how am I going to give you Bayis Sheni if you don't deserve it? So I'll bring you a makkah so that I should be able to bring the refuah. So I'm makdim the refuah, which will bring the makkah, so you should be able to be'etzem have what I really want to give you, which is the refuah. That became clear in Purim. Says the Zera Shimshon, that was even more clear than in any other time, even by Yetzias Mitzrayim. As he says over here and brings down a machloikis. Zokter shafilu hanesh Yetzias Mitzrayim lo noidem mimenu bebirur. You couldn't see clearly that there was a refuah before the makkah. She'im nemer kedivrei asar ma'amoros. Sha'kadosh Baruch Hu asa. Shekoidim sheyishlatu achiv al Yosef v'achakach yishat Mitzrayim. The Asar Ma'amoros says that when Yosef went down to Mitzrayim and he became the leader, he was already in someone else's rishus. Whose rishus was he in? His brothers. Because they captured him, they stripped him of his Scheiners pasim, they threw him in the bar, they were shoylet on him, and says the Asar Ma'amar is fascinating. Mimelo, whatever Yosef did in Mitzrayim was ki'ilu their shlichus, and they empowered him. Like, Yosef, you belong to us, and now we're sending you there, so that whatever Yosef would accomplish, all of the money and all of the success would go back to them. Azoy shteten Asara Ma'amoros, N'marama mipano. Shekoidem yishutu achiv al Yosef, v'achakach yishuta Mitzrayim. Since Yosef was successful in being shoylet on Mitzrayim, both mitzad the Tumah, because he didn't give in to Eishes Paitif or any other of the ladies that went after him. So he was shoylet and he was empowered through the Shvatim. So therefore, all of his accomplishments went directly back to the Shvatim. This is a Pi Kabbalah from the Ramah Mipano and Sefer Asar Ma'amoros. V'hainu shehiktim refuah l'makkah. According to this, then Yosef being sold to Mitzrayim was actually a good thing. And the fact that there was shoylet. But that's not, everybody doesn't hold like that. Because now those who hold that on the contrary, that's why we went to Egypt. So it's not so clear if this is really a refuah or not a refuah. So maybe we had to go to Mitzrayim to get all the good stuff. Says the Zera Shimshon Moshel, they say, I'd rather not get stung and I'd rather not get the honey. So it's not so clear, and there's a big machlokes in the Mefarshim, what was really the refuah of Yetzias Mitzrayim. But in Purim, we know clearly what the refuah was. In as much as everything was hidden, once we're able to see the whole story, you're able to see piece after piece after piece. How Mordechai had to hear about Big Son Visheres trying to kill the king, happened to randomly be there, how Esther had to be taken, how this Igeres Ahasuerus, this letter about him and Vashti delegitimized Achashverosh. So each piece was all there before, and it was clear. Everybody knows, and it was clear how HaKadosh Baruch Hu took care of us beforehand. Sali, you are my stone, my rock, umtsudasi umefalti li. Ki Lashem Yeshua mikol hatzor mikol tzora behektem efur lamaka. Hoshia sa'oda mikol chet ve'ashma. Hashem tzoris tzuris nefesh aruchanis. The Eibishter says the Kli Yakar allows or gives us the koyach so that we shouldn't be our own enemy. Meaning, if you want to know who can hurt somebody, Chalila, more than anyone else in the world, it's yourself. Giving in to our own Yetzer Hara. V'zeu shekasav Hashem sali umtsudasi. The Eibishter helps me. Loi mahazulas. Look at this line, because it's a big line. Loi mahazulas, not from Yenim. Ki im li, from myself. Rotza loimar, mifalet oisi mimeni mamish. The Eibishter helps us from ourselves. We can sometimes be our own biggest enemy, and therefore we need Hashem's help so that we shouldn't destroy ourselves. And now I'm going to tell you the pshat, says the Zera Shimshon. You know who Bekum Aleim Adam is referring to? Lule Hashem Shahaya Lanu. Bekum Aleinu Adam. When Adam, you know which Adam he's referring to? Everyone themselves. Listen to this, and listen and watch how this ties into Haman in the most beautiful way. Watch what happens. Bikum aleinu Adam, shehu bikum aleinu hakoyach shebanu. Bama sha'anu Adam. The fact that each one of us is a man, ki bikum aleinu hayetzer, tzofan, b'mashu Adam. The fact that a person is Adam and a descendant of Adam Arishon. If not for the fact that the Eibishter helps us, lo yacholoi, meaning, like the Gemara says in Sukkah, Yetzer Hara misgaber olav b'chol yoim. The Yetzer Hara has the power to be misgaber over us. He's really stronger than us. Lule, without the Eibishter, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, oizroi, lo yacholoi. We wouldn't be able to withstand the Yetzer Hara. But the Eibishter is good. And the Eibishter doesn't let us be our own worst enemy. So, Ilmole HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oizroi. Lule Hashem Shahaya Lanu Bekum Aleinu Adam. What's going on? Explains the Zera Shimshon. Yisrael Sheba'isai Dar, in that generation, after they were taken out of Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Nebuchadnezzar made an idol. He told everybody to bow down. Unfortunately, they did. Who didn't? No. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You know what happened to them? They were thrown into a kivshon ha'esh. And what happened to them? They stayed in the fire. The Maharal in one place writes, it's actually, the Brunsham was Mezakami in the book that we wrote on Sukkot. I have a whole piece on Halal, an introduction, Hanani Mishael Azariah. Their Mesiris Nefesh was similar to the Mesiris Nefesh of Avraham, who threw himself into Kivshon Ha'esh. But instead of one being Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the Maharal connects all three of them. Remember that, Elazar, from the Sefer? Connects all three and says, since Klal Yisrael lost Bayis Rishon, there was Tammuz Schus Avos, they needed a reactivation of Schus Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Hananiah Mishal va'Azariah, who told Nebuchadnezzar, you might as well throw us into the fire, and they didn't know they were going to be saved. You can kill us because we are not bowing down to you. Their Mesiris Nefesh was equal to the Avos HaKadoshim, and it was through this Maisa Shteit Maral that Bayis Sheni was given to Klal Yisrael. They were given that schus. You needed the Avos HaKadoshim to build Bayis Rishon, and since Bayis Rishon was already destroyed, they no longer had the schus of the Avos, so they needed something within Klal Yisrael to trigger that schus and bring it back. Hananiah, Mishal, v'Azariah is being thrown into the Kif Shonesh was that. Over the rest of Klal Yisrael, 99.99, all bowed down. All of them. And you know what should have happened to them? Lahashmid ulahareg. Yahareg val yaver. Now watch the lashon of the Zera Shimshon as he explains this, mida keneged mida. Last paragraph on page Taf Kuf Yud Aleph. V'noidesh yisol shabayis adon eschai v'klaya. Right over here at Tzadikol. Lefi ish ishtachvu letzalam shem Nebuchadnezzar. Ella, hoyu v'loy osu lefnim. They did it not because they wanted to. They were scared. He would kill them. They didn't have the courage of Hananiah, Mishal, v'Azariah. They were weak, so they bowed down. So since they did it because they didn't want to do it, they did it even though they didn't want to do it, it really didn't had no heart in it. So if it wasn't real avodah zarah, so therefore, when the Eibishter brought upon them a punishment, he didn't bring them a real punishment. It was lahashmid v'lahareg, but it wasn't going to happen. Just like their sin of bowing down was external, but not internal, the threat of killing them, mida keneged, was going on a pachad, moided, so because they really didn't mean to do the avodah zarah, and therefore they were zoicha that they'll have just a groise shrek, just a big scare, mida keneged mida. That's all. Va'af HaKadosh Baruch Hu also imam elo lefnim. Lefnim means to say this is the way it looks like on the outside. But you understand, says the Zera Shimshon, that when they were bowing down, if Cholila, the Jews would have put their heart into it, and they would have said, all right, I'm bowing down, I might as well, then they would have been deserved. Then they would really be serving Avodah Zarah. This was the internal struggle that was going on in Klal Yisrael every single time a Jew bowed down to the tselem of Nebuchadnezzar. Should he do it outwardly and fight it inwardly, or should he give in to Nebuchadnezzar and do it b'rotzain? That was his struggle. Umi shemaschel ba'aveira kala hayetzahara moishchel aveira chamura. Aveira goreres aveira. The fact that they didn't fight with Nebuchadnezzar, that was already an aveira, and that the Yetzirah tried to chap them. B'tchilas hoylech, like the Chazal say, your Yetzirah comes to you as like an Areyach. He comes to your house, you invite him in. Very quickly becomes the balabas and tells you what to do. They started sinning. So I'm schon ungefangen. Hu nes godol. שהכוח שיש בהם, במה שהם אדם, שאני יצהרה, לא המשיכו לשטח בזף בלב. How were they able to stand fast and stop themselves while they're already bowing down, not to do it berotza and chas v'shalom? Lulei Hashem shahoyalanu. According to Abnachman, this was the Eibishter's health that we got. Mamash, like it says in the Gemara, that the Eibishter Yetzer Hara Misgaber Olav Uroitze Lahamisoi Vilmala Kodesh Baruch Hu Oizer Lo Yachala. You wouldn't be able to. This was the Eibishter's help to Klal Yisrael. Veloyim Shichan Lishtach B'Saf B'Leiv Shalafi Teva Miniga Olam Hayir roilias avera gereres avera. Elavadai shemashlayim shicham hayetzor hara mipnei be'ezraseinu al zeh zachinu legeula. The Eibishter helped us. He knew ritzaynenu lasais ritzaynecha. We really want to do your will. Who's getting in our way? Sa'ar Shabi Isa. That's the Seir and that's the Koyach of Esav and the Koyach of Amalek. When that can't connect to you. That's why, Marav Rabbi Isai, every year before Purim, the Parsha of Amalek, of wiping out Amalek in your heart, is an act of being mevatel ra in the world. It starts here within ourselves to be mevatel the ra, and that you can't find an Amalek out in the world. But there's lo yeh becha el zar. There shouldn't be in you a foreign god, a you and ourselves, and that we could be zoichet to be to Timcha as Zecher Amalek, what he has put inside of us. And here we come to the final point. Bekum aleinu Adam, says the Zera Shimshon, means the Adam inside of ourselves. This Adam that wants to do bad, unfortunately, is a product of the Eitz Hadas. And that's where Haman came from. Haman min ha-Torah minayin. Hamin ha'etz. Haman knew very well that the koyach of the Eitz Hadas was the koyach that destroyed humanity. I want to take 2 minutes to explain what happened and finish off and explain the Zera Shimshon. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam Arishan, put him in Gan Eden, he was in the best place in the world. Gan Eden. All Hanois were there. And Vayipach ba'apav nishmas Chaim, the Eibishter blew in his nostrils a breath of life. And Adam Harishon was fused, guf and neshama. The guf just wanted to do what the neshama wanted. It had no other rutzon whatsoever. Whatever the neshama wanted. Until the Nachash convinced Chava to eat. What do you mean kitoiv? David said it's not good. The body started looking at the world after the Nachash spoke to her and got in her head, started speaking to her, and she started seeing the world not through her neshama. And when she ate from the tree, both Adam and Chava created a monster. You know what that monster is? The guf alein. Because the guf now no longer did what the neshama wanted. No longer did what the neshama wanted. It was doing what it wanted. And fighting the neshama. Where did that come from? Hamin ha'etz. And that is the biggest destroyer of a human being. When the person himself is destroying his own neshama. That's what the Eitz Hadas created. And that's what Haman, that's where his koyach came from. The koyach ha'nachash ha'kadmaini. And that's what he was exploiting. They bowed down to an avodah zara, which means to say they were kaifer be'ikr. They gave up to Eibishter. So they're rotten to the core. We can wipe them out. But they don't know, he didn't know, that this is also the month that Moshe Rabbeinu was born, like the Gemara says. And when he was born, the whole house was full of light. Moshe Rabbeinu was a person whose guf and neshama were in sync with each other completely. He went up to Shamayim, Arboyim Yoim Varboyim Laila, Lechem lo yachalti, Mayim lo shasis. How did the body live? The body became fused to the neshama. Luchais ha'even means that the neshama and the guf get refused together, that the guf becomes a hechi timtza for the neshama. Those were the luchais, and that's Kabbalah Satira. The less Amalek there is in the world, the stronger Klal Yisrael is. When Klal Yisrael was going to Har Sinai, Amalek came to fight them. He wanted to get in the way of Kabbalah Satira. They had to wipe him out, and then they were Makabal the Torah. Says the Maral, when they wiped out Haman, Kimu v'kiblu, they got another Torah again. They were able to be Zoicha because it's like a seesaw. When Amalek is there, there's Ra in the world. When the Eibishter, when Klal Yisrael's Mekabel the Torah, and deep down, Ritzaynenu lases ritzaynech, and the Eibishter knows that. This, says the Zera Shimshon, is the Pshat. This is the pshat of what Shiur Lamales Lule Hashem Shahaya Lanu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was with us, Bekum Aleinu Adam. When Haman HaRasha tried to exploit the Tzuras Adam and show that Adam is bad to the core, that Klal Yisrael is bad to the core, and Klal Yisrael has no shaykhs to you, Eibishter, to your goodness. Yeshnai Amecha, they're not no shaykhs to goodness. And what did the Eibishter show? Lule Hashem Shahaya Lanu, that we're always devoted to Him. We never give up, and He is Liban Shal Yisrael. He is in our hearts, and He knows that really we want to do the right thing. On Yom Kippur, we take a carbon, we send one la'azazel, and we go one inside, right? And that brings kapara. Yom Kippur was like Kippurim. In Purim, we were able to filter and show what we're really made out of. Even when He made us bow down, we never really bowed down. Even in our darkest time, when we were bowing down and we looked outwardly like we were the biggest kaifrim in the world, we were not kaifrim. We were still aduk zum Rabbeinu Shalom. We were still attached to the Eibishter. And that's why the Eibishter brought us the Yeshua that He did. And so too, Be'ezras Hashem b'mehera v'yameinu. As no matter how a Yid might look, no matter what matzav you look in, he's a from a Yid, look at the way he looks like. Inside in Zayin hearts is a Kodesh V'Tar. We should be Zoicha Be'ezras Hashem to reveal that Kedusha V'Tahara the way we did back then, B'Yom HaMahem B'Zman Hazeh.